All right. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. We're about to start.
Good morning. Welcome to today's a month of service presentation of Coffee and Conversation with the City of Houston Department representatives. My name is Nia Murray. I am the programs coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service collaboration. And basically, A Month of Service is a collaboration of all 8 of these organizations, including the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, who is the host for the meeting for today, Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, the Lone Star Legal Aid, the Earl Carl Institute, Harris Central Appraisal District, Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and Houston Bar Association. And together we make up A Month of Service. And what A Month of Service is all 8 of our organizations, we come together on a monthly basis and offer a variety of different workshops that we each do individually. So we want it to be collective and offer more services on a monthly basis to a variety of different neighborhoods throughout the city of Houston, relative to asset building, asset protection, the maintaining of generational wealth and community empowerment. So because we pretty much service the same community, we wanted to create a larger impact and come together and reach more people. So that's kind of what we do as the Month of Service collaboration. So we want to welcome you all for today's Coffee and Conversation. We want to thank you for your constant participation and support of the service that we offer. Without you guys actually telling us what information it is that you want to get out to the community, then that's how we continue to provide the information and the resources. There's a lot of individual communities that are out there that don't have access or don't know about certain resources that are available. So we wanted to make sure that we try to get as much information out to the community as we possibly can by doing these types of presentations in a lot of underserved communities around the city. So information that we do provide, though, is not just for the city of Houston. So if you find yourself living outside of, throughout Harris County, surrounding counties, all the information is relative to your community as well, and not just into the city of Houston. So again, we want to welcome you guys and thank you all for being here today. And we're going to turn it over to Ms. Myra Hippolyte with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Myra Hippolyte. I work with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods. As you can tell, this in person, one of the best processes that we've come to find out. When COVID hit, before COVID, we were all seeing everyone. We'd have this room filled with maybe 50 participants. COVID hit the whole United States, and we ended up doing many of our in-person workshops virtually. So now we're getting back to the process of talking to the community leaders, making sure that we're seeing you in person, as well as those that cannot come out in person, that we're still assisting you virtually. And the first thing that we want to remind everyone that everything that we say here is not legal advice. Everything that we're discussing is for informational purposes only, because Nia and I are not attorneys. If you're looking for legal advice, please make sure you discuss your concerns and issues with an attorney, because everything that we are doing is for informational purposes only. And this is information that comes from the state of Texas on down. We have attended how many workshops, Nia, since 2000?
A few hundred.
So, a lot of times, Nia and I have learned a lot of information, God knows, and we said, well, you know what? We'd rather pass it on quickly, because a lot of times our community wants someone to come and meet them in person and talk to them, just like it was just your mom and dad, and we're having a discussion. And that's what Coffee and Conversation is all about. Just having a very casual discussion about your life, your neighborhood. So today we're going to be talking about your airship. Now, before we get started, we have been honored, and let me tell you about this young man. This young man I have known, Rashad, how long? I've known you for Probably
Many, many
so.
moons ago.
And Rashad has gone from here to here to here, and he used to be my coworker. So one of the greatest parts about Rashad and I's coworker friendship is that we're always, when we see something that's going on and we want to make it better, we always advise each other, help each other. We're good friends, good team members. So we want to thank Mr. Rashad K. He is from State Senator Whitmire's office. So Rashad, could you come right here where I'm at and welcome everyone real quick? Because then you'll be virtually.
Myra's good about putting people on the spot, just to FYI, so.
In Harris County, you'll be next.
Greetings and salutations again. My name is Rashad Cave. Of course, I know many of you all. I have different hats as well because I'm on Sunnyside Management District as well. So it's just truly an honor and pleasure to be here. Senator Whitmire, of course, is transitioning right now. I am still on his state side, and it is our business, and it's always been our business with him being the dean of the Senate to always make sure that we kind of keep our ear to the street on what's going on in different neighborhoods, and to make sure that we can transition to make sure that we can try to protect, serve, and assist all of Houston and not just parts of Houston. So even though this is not technically in his district, it's important to him, and that's why I'm here, to make sure that I listen and bring back a report on what are some of the issues, concerns, or some of the things that the Pulse of Sunnyside is asking for. I'm born and raised in South Park, just down the street, but now I actually live in Sunnyside now. We just bought a house about 2 months ago, so I'm Sunnyside now, and if you need anything, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashad. And we also have Harris County that is here. We have our Harris County representative that will welcome you and tell you a little bit of what they do. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? And right there, and there you go.
How's everybody doing? Okay, so we're gonna stand up and everybody's gonna do exercise. Ready?
Oh, I'm gonna sit down.
Okay, my name is T. Reed. I work for the N. Harris Bennett tax assessor and collector office, tax office, and voter registration. I'm here with my beautiful co-workers, Shamika and Sophia. And we want to just make sure that you know that our office has, we help you with your taxes, some of your auto issues, as well as we want to make sure that you all are voting as well, to make sure that your voice is heard. So we're excited to be here. Thank you, Ms. Myra. And we'll be right over there. If anyone has any questions, if you have questions online, put it in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're very grateful. Thank you. Thank you. One of the greatest part about being a team member is that you all didn't have to take time out of your busy schedule to come and listen to us. And that's the exciting part. You know, when we have community leaders that care so much about their community, not only about their community, but about their airship, because that's what we're going to be talking about, is how to protect your generational wealth. Now, again, you'll hear me say this maybe about 5 to 10 times, is just reminding you that whatever we're discussing here today is for informational purposes only and not legal advice, because Nia and I are not attorneys. So if you're looking for some legal information or legal advice, make sure you go and talk to an attorney, and we can even refer you to an attorney because we have a pre-assessment process, and it's called the month of service pre-assessment process. Now, with this form right here, you can do 2 things. If you're in person, you can pre-assess today in person and fill this form out and leave it with Angela and Mr. Pugh. And wait a minute, hold on. Angela, you guys come up here, please. I apologize because could y'all introduce yourselves, please? I am getting slower at my age, but I'm still young. Don't everyone say I'm old yet, because I'm still 34 right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys, and I apologize. Yeah, right.
Good morning. I'm Eldridge Pugh. I'm a community liaison for the Department of Neighborhoods and the Mayor's Assistance Office. And this is my colleague Angie.
Good morning, I'm Angela Solis. I'm also a community liaison with the Mayor's Assistance Office, and we're assigned by Super Neighborhood. So if we can be assistance, please let us know. We'll be glad to help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can get started. I apologize. I see them all the time and we talk to them every day. So it's just like, oh my God, wait a minute, I forgot to introduce you. So please forgive me for that. So if you're looking for free legal advice, you can go to the month of service pre-assessment. We have one form here that you can fill out. And once you fill it out here today, make sure you leave it with Angela and Mr. Pugh, and they'll give it to us, and we will fill out your information. Or you can go to the link also, or the QR code, and you can pre-assess yourself online. So with this form, once you get pre-assessed, Nia and I will go through the pre-assessment, and the only persons that go see any of your information will be Nia Murray and myself. And we will be able to refer you to 3 of our legal partners. We have TSU Oracle Institute, Lone Star Legal Aid, as well as Houston Volunteer Lawyers. So if you're looking for civil legal assistance, then we will be able to refer you to an attorney. And in this pre-assessment, we're also offering a no income qualifying transfer on death deed, and we're notarizing your transfer on death deed for free. So if you're looking for the first step that we're trying to do is assist you with the free transfer on death deed, and then refer you on to our legal partners so they can assist you with a complete estate plan. But we want to make sure that we protect you and we protect your property first with a transfer on death deed, and we will be notarizing it for free. Now, also, if you have any children or you yourself have committed any kind of criminal crime, we can also assist you with one of our legal partners. They will expunge your criminal record. Or if you had a juvenile committed crime while you were a juvenile, we can also get it expunged or sealed. So if you have any grandchildren, or if you have any friends or anyone that has committed a crime, tell them we will assist them with expunging their criminal record. So we've discussed it. It's called a pre-assessment. Now we are going to talk about your generational wealth. Many times, a lot of us say, well, look, I don't own anything. The only thing I own is a small house, small property, and my kids will, whatever they want to do with it, that's what they're going to do. But one of the things that we want to make sure is that you understand the processes to protecting your generational wealth, and the processes to pass on your generational wealth to your heirs. And let me give you a couple of examples when people have not protected their generational wealth. We have attended many meetings, and we've met citizens, community leaders throughout Houston. And we've always, at every meeting, we've had someone come in and said, well, my husband passed. He did not have a will. He did not have a transfer on death deed. And the house was under his name. I was not on title. And the family was able to take the property because I was not on title. And so we said, well, you have attended many of our virtual workshops. You have attended many of our in-person workshops. Why didn't you guys protect your property first? And so how do you do that? A lot of people say, well, okay, it's so long for me to go through an estate plan. It costs a lot of money. It's time consuming, and there's so much to this package. I know I can do it by myself because with the month of service program, we have virtual workshops that we have attorneys that show you how to create your own estate plan. The problem is a lot of our seniors and a lot of our community leaders say, that's a lot of documents that I have to fill out, and have to figure out, and I would rather talk to an attorney. But for me to find the right attorney, it's difficult. And for me to save enough money to go through that process is difficult also. So one of the greatest things about the state of Texas, they've created a process that you can save and pass on your property to your heirs, and that's called a transfer on death deed. Now, we have different forms. This is what a transfer on death deed is. In a simple deed, it's a simple form that you're saying, and I'm using myself as an example. I, Myra Hippolyte, own this property. The legal description of this property is this. And the day I pass, I want to leave it to my children, my spouse, whoever you want to. And this is this form right here. So when you're looking at the first page, you'll see exactly, it says your name, the names that are on title. So it would be my husband. You have two names. If both of your husband's spouses, both of the spouses are on title, then you would put both names on the first sheet. Then you put the address, then you put the legal description, and then the address of the property. So then you have a couple of things that you have to decide after you fill that out. You decide, okay, if you're a husband and a wife and you're both on title, do you want to leave the property to each other? So if you want to do that, then you would fill out Form A on the transfer on death deed. That's the next page. And so on this form, it says A. And you have the names, and you would put each other's names in, unless you have an alternate. Okay, so if you have primary, it would be both spouses. Okay, then after you have spouses, you would have alternates, like your children or your, whoever, grandchildren, whoever you want to leave. So then if you have a spouse that the property is only under their name and not if the title of the property is only on one spouse and not the other spouse, if that spouse that is on title wants to leave that property to their spouse that's not on title, then they would fill out Form B. Okay. Now, if you want to leave your property to anyone else, here in the state of Texas, each spouse that's on title owns 50% of the property. So the wife owns 50%, the husband owns 50%. So, and let me give you a couple of examples. If I decided that I want to leave my property to my children, then I would go to Form C and fill out their names all equal. I have 4 children, so I would put all their names on there as primary. Okay. Now, if my husband wants to leave his 50% to whomever he can leave them to me. Yes or no? He can leave them to our children. Yes, which we prefer. And let me explain why we prefer that way. A church, anyone, whoever you want to leave your property to, that would be Form C. Now, a lot of times, a lot of people don't realize that there's a study that about 70 or 60% of those surviving spouses live, and get remarried, right? Well, if they get remarried, the surviving spouse can live at the property till they pass. So if they get remarried, that person can live on that property till they pass. And so let's say that person, the original spouse passed, and that person remarried, then that spouse can live there until they pass. So then the original children would never, it'd be difficult for them to get any of their heirship because they'll be going from spouse to spouse to spouse. And the original spouse that actually made, was the original owner, their children might not get any of the property. So that's what you have to talk to your husband. You talk to an attorney when you're making those decisions, you want to make sure that you think through that process. And when you're filling out this form, talk to an attorney, find out what you want to do. You know, get as much information as you can when you're filling out this form. Now, we at the City of Houston Department of Neighborhood, as well as Complete Communities and NRCDC Houston, we have partnered together to create a transfer on death deed clinic. Now, on that clinic, we're having one this coming Saturday here at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church. And we're offering to notarize a transfer on death deed for whomever wants it for free. So, but we are not giving any legal advice. We are asking everyone to fill this out, fill out the transfer on death deed on your own, get the legal, when you're looking for the legal description of the property, go to the title of the property and it will have the legal description. And if you cannot find your title, go into the county clerk's office on their website and you will be able to see the legal description. You'll be able to find the title and you will be able to find the legal description of the property. So a lot of times you can even take your transfer on death deed to your bank and they will notarize it for free. So you don't have to come to one of our transfer on death deed clinics. You can go to your bank or in that notarizes for free and get it done for free. But guess what happens? When you get it notarized, it will only cost you $40, $50 to file it with the county clerks. So once you file it with the county clerk's office, they will mail it right back because they've already scanned it and filed it in their system. So when I pass, my children, because I left my 50% to my children will take my death certificate and an affidavit of death, take it to the county clerk's office, say my mom, Myra Hippolyte, passed, and she filed a transfer on that deed. And here's a copy of it, or you have it in your computer system. They'll research it and they say yes. They'll ask us for our driver's license. They'll ask them for their driver's license, and they'll go in and then automatically transfer the property to their name for $40, $50. That's it. Compared to going through probate, hiring an attorney, and if you only own a property, a house, that's the easiest way of transferring your legacy, your heirship to whomever you want. Nia, is there anything that you would like to add real quick?
Basically just to kind of reiterate or to cover, a transfer on death deed is just a great alternative to having a will. It's something that you can do in the meantime until you actually create your will or your estate plan. And it also helps you avoid the probate process when it comes to transferring ownership from one person to another. A lot of times people are under the misconception, especially when it comes to married couples, when you buy property, when you pass, that your ownership interest automatically goes to your spouse. Even though they are legally entitled to it, there's a process that they actually have to go through, which includes the probate process, which includes you having to pay for an attorney to represent you, because you cannot represent yourself in probate court. You have to have an attorney, which includes legal expenses and attorney's fees and things like that, and timely process. Because even though the probate process is not relatively difficult, it still takes a long time because you actually have to go to court, get assigned a date and all this other kind of stuff, go before the judge. It's a process.
And
So
yeah,
it's not
I
that
found
simple.
out that and I may be wrong, but right now with the probate process in Harris County, it's like a 2-year wait.
Yeah.
And someone can protest your will, but with the transfer on death deed, no one can protest your will. I mean, they can take you to court, but they can't protest the transfer on death deed.
And so basically, once you actually have a transfer on death deed on file as the alternative to the will, like Myra was saying, basically your heirs, all they would have to do is to provide the affidavit of death and the death certificate presented to the county clerks. Ownership is automatically transferred without having to go to court.
And you can go to any tax office and do that.
The tax office where the county or in the county, No, not the tax office. I'm sorry. Did I
County
say
clerk.
tax office? The county clerk. Did I say tax office? I'm sorry. My apologies, everyone. Not the tax office, the clerk's office or where the deed, where you register your property's deed.
And they want you to go to the one downtown on Carolina.
If your property is in Harris County. If your property is in Fort Bend County, you have to go to that register of deeds office and file it there. So wherever the property that you're transferring is located is the county where you go to actually file the document. Yes, ma'am.
If I'm understanding this correctly, you have to do a transfer of deed if you have not previously done one. If you've already done your will and done your deed and listed all your heirs, so you're okay.
You are okay, however, a transfer on death deed supersedes a will.
But this is not will, this is actually deeds attached to the will.
If you do a transfer on death deed, if there's something different from what you have in the will,
It's not.
the will, either way, the transfer on death deed will supersede. So if you have this one, they don't have to go to probate in order to get the property switched over. Even though you have a will covers all of your other assets.
Well,
No,
let-
this is an actual deed where the property has been deeded to the person.
They still, at that process with a will, they still have to go to probate court. And the probate court allows the executor of the estate to then do whatever it needs to be
Well,
done and
one
carry
for-
out your wishes.
One other person, if the lawyer that did all this went to the court and filed it, it's all already in.
No, once you, a will can be filed to be put to, as basically like a record or safekeeping. It's not, nothing happens with your will until you pass. Then once your will is actually on file,
Well,
that
I'm
person.
Speaking of the deeds itself, these deeds are separate from the will. It's a separate thing, like you go get your deeds to your house. and
Right,
stuff.
your title
Yeah,
is different, and that's
Right.
at the county clerk's office.
right.
But this is a transfer on death deed that's separate from that. And and let me give you an example. Right now, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, a lot of the attorneys are doing, when they give you an estate plan, they are creating a transfer on death deed. At the same time, they're creating your will. Because a transfer on death deed, the minute you pass as long as you filed it with the county clerk, then the property is automatically transferred to your heirs, whoever you left it to. And in the process, while you're waiting to go through probate, at least your property has been transferred and taken care of. And you can still go with the will and go through probate.
Probate.
So you'll have both, because one of the things I was talking to an attorney, and remember, we are not attorneys. What we are giving you and telling you is for informational purposes only and not legal advice. So what we know is you want to protect your property first, and it's called a transfer on death deed. You file it, you get it notarized. You can get it notarized with us. We'll be here this Saturday, or you can get it notarized. You can take it to the bank and get it notarized for free. Then you take it to your county clerk's office and file it. Do not put it in one of your drawers. Do not put it in your safe. It has to be filed before you pass. If it is not filed before you pass,
It's no good.
it's no good. So, and it's so easy to fill out a transfer on death deed. And then you wouldn't have to go to probate as well with the property. Excuse me, sorry about that. It'll only cost you $40, $40, $50 with the county clerk's office. And it's something easy that we all can do. And one of the things that we try to tell even the young ones, like Rashad, he just bought a house. Rashad, do you have a transfer on that deed?
Ah,
No.
guilty.
But even if you're young, when you first buy a house, you don't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. When we leave here, we do not know what's going to happen to us. So what's going to happen to our property? It's going to go through probate. But if you can fill out a transfer on death deed, file it, then automatically while you're going through your will, because I think the transfer on death deed and a will coincide. It should work together.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a lot of bank accounts, if you have a lot of things, stocks and stuff, then you should have a will, but you should also have a transfer on death deed. We had a couple citizens that came to our transfer on death deed clinic, they brought what, 20
Wait,
properties? And they filled out,
you have
the
to have
easiest
one
way.
for each property, because, yeah.
you have to have a transfer on death deed filled out and signed for each property. But guess what happened?
it's
They
covered.
decided who was getting each one of their property. Because they had specific children that they wanted each property to go to. And they were very comfortable in coming in and filling out a transfer on death deed for each child. Or 2 or 3 or whoever they wanted. Because they also left a couple properties to their church. They left it for some schools, to the independent school district. They all, and that's the difference. With the transfer on death deed, you have to file one for each property.
And nobody could fight over it. So the kids are not, well, I'm not staying there, I don't live there, and so is paying the taxes, I'm paying the taxes, why is it not my house, and whatever. People, everybody always says, oh, everybody gets along, everybody loves each other, but as soon as Big Mama passed, everybody's coming out of the woodworks with a handout, one ownership and fighting over it, and who's supposed to pay for what, this, that, and the other. And I'll get to your question in just a second. I just wanted to make sure that your question was
But
fully
actually,
addressed.
mine is another state altogether. And the lawyer that did this, has said all this is taking place, but I just want some reassurance. I'm gonna double check with.
If it's in another state, we
Yes,
have no
so-
control about estate planning
Right.
laws in other
Yes,
states, so we
I'm
have
probably
no
good
idea.
with that.
But
So,
each
yeah.
state
But I
has
still
their
wanna
own
ask him
transfer
about
on death
that.
deed also.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, not
Yeah,
all
now,
of them,
there's
not all of them are
some
approved.
states do not,
Some-
but thank God you live in Texas, that we have some senators, that really think about us. Many of us cannot afford an attorney. Many of us would rather make it so simple. Let me just fill out this form. I want to fill out my own form, pay $40 and protect my generational wealth and file it with the county clerk's office. Yes. Oh, wait a minute. She was, yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yes, in the, on, the first one here, property owner. If property is owned by multiple owners, only one of them wants to transfer their deed, for their part of the property.
You can do it for your
your portion.
percentage.
Because I see it said that you had to list all the owners.
Right,
Mhm.
you do, but for your percentage, you can do it for your percentage.
Yep. There was another question that was here in the chat too, when somebody asked, does a Lady Bird deed act like a transfer on death deed? And without answering the question as an attorney,
That's right,
we
we're
wanna
not,
keep
none of the
reiterating
answers we're
that.
giving you, we're not answering as
a
attorneys.
Lady Bird deed is similar to a transfer on death deed. It's another alternative. However, a Lady Bird deed transfer ownership while you're still living, but you still maintain the benefits as being the homeowner while you're alive. So if you have a senior exemption, a disability exemption, all of that stuff still stays in place as long as you're still alive. As soon as you pass, then all of that stuff goes
Ania,
away.
explain the difference, why some people use the ladybird compared to a regular transfer.
Some people use a Lady Bird deed for estate planning purposes, Medicare planning purposes, so that it does not disqualify them for having too many assets when they want to qualify for
Okay,
Medicaid
yeah,
services,
nursing home.
nursing home care and things of that nature. So the state of Texas has something called MERP. It's the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program. So once you become a senior or you become disabled or what have you, and you have to have state facilities, home health care, nursing home care and things like that, the state wants to recoup their costs that they've paid out for those particular benefits. So they can attach a lien to your property to make sure that they recoup that money and they can, take your house in order to do that. But it's only properties that actually have to pass through probate. These properties that you do with a Lady Bird deed or a transfer deed don't pass through probate, which means that they can't then attach a lien to that property because it never passes through the probate process.
And you haven't.
My wife and I are both on title,
Mhm.
so she would be, it's my name and her name 1 year.
Mhm.
And we have one son, and we wanna leave, each one of our interests to that particular son. Now, if one of us died and the other one is still living, that son would have to go back to the courthouse when the other, heir die,
Yes, but it's not difficult because you're filling it out 40%, 50% of your property, you're leaving it to your son, and 50% of her property, she's leaving it to your son.
Right.
And so you can still live there until you pass.
You're still the owner.
Yeah, you're
Nothing,
still the owner.
it doesn't do
What
anything.
I'm saying is, will the son have to go to the courthouse twice?
No,
No,
no, because it's already filed.
it doesn't, nothing happens until he actually goes to the court and files for the transfer. So as long as you're still living, if he wants to go and then transfer your wife's ownership's portion first, that's fine.
You know, if
If
I
you
pay
want,
it first.
if you, or
Right, or
you
you
have,
have-
whomever, you both may outlive him. You
That's
never know.
right.
And you may have to list
That's
it on alternate there for somebody else. So it's just, you know, whoever passes first.
And it's
But
up
if-
to him. He can do it all at one time at the end, but it's not something that would be difficult to do, because then you just take your death certificate and affidavit of death,
Mhm.
get it notarized, and take it to the county clerk's office. Myself, I want to make sure that my children get their share of my 50%. And that's me. Now, some people say I'm gonna leave it to my spouse. That's good. Whatever you choose you want to do, then that's something that you have to decide and take time to think through the process. Now, somebody told me, well, you know, because my concern is I don't want anyone to be upset at me. You know, we're a very close family. And one senior, she had to be maybe 92, and she raised up her hand and she was laughing. She goes, well, Miss Hippolyte, you really are not gonna know if they're angry at you because you're gonna be dead. I looked at her. Yes,
Right.
you, now that's an old soul right there.
Yeah.
So don't worry about who's gonna be upset, because you're never gonna know, you know?
Yeah. But I would like to leave my 50% to my wife,
Mhm.
but I'd also like to leave my 50% to my son.
You can do that as an alternate, and we'll show you how to fill that out.
Okay.
Because there's a section there that says if you pass,
Mhm.
do you want to leave your part after you pass to your
Spouse.
children, to your children's spouse, and then your children?
Right.
So there's a form, a section there that you can fill out and say, yeah, I mean, I'm leaving it for my spouse, but once she passes, I want it to go to my children.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. What if one parent has already passed on? And they did not go into probate?
Mm.
Then you're gonna
Yeah,
have to get you an attorney.
Then you will have to get an attorney.
Uh-huh.
The airship affidavit wouldn't help you?
Yes, it
If
would,
you
but
could.
we're not legally bound to help you on that.
It
Yes.
could potentially, it kind of depends on other assets that are involved, if there are other heirs, if they have children. It can get a
Okay.
little complicated,
Okay.
so you would definitely need to
Yeah.
contact an attorney about
But
that.
yes, an airship affidavit, but that would, if I were you, I would go to an attorney to determine that.
That's why, says questions. On Ms. Ernest.
No,
We know this
we know, Ms. Ernest.
Questions are asked to me on
Yeah.
that aspect, because everyone knows that I'm a researcher.
Yes, ma'am.
Learn,
Yes, ma'am.
so, because a lot of seniors are being taken advantage of.
Yes, ma'am.
And I
Absolutely.
want to let them know, the airship affidavit can also proceed over other things that are done for the children, so the children won't have to fight for all this here and know that they have to, sometimes don't have to pay an attorney,
That's exactly right.
and it can be done.
That's right.
But it's better to make sure all of that is done prior to,
That's
Correct,
right.
So
correct,
that
and
way
so
there
now
is
this
no
Not being done.
done.
And
Yeah.
Mr. Rashid, I will tell you this.
Yeah.
I had a good friend bought her home. 2 months later, she passed away. She had nothing on, and she had no children, no husband. All she had was a mother, and the mother was not on it.
And you need to make sure, one of the things that Nia and I were talking about, when you're closing on your house, you should be filling out a transfer. You have a notary right there with you when you're closing on your home.
Well, some title companies will do it, some of them won't,
Okay.
so
But, I mean-
they'll tell you.
But like you
Yeah.
said, at the bank.
You can take it to the bank,
Do you have to do a survey on anything, a land survey on anything?
not on the
What-
transfer of that deed.
What if you find out that the property that you purchased, uh,
It
the
encroaches
barriers were
on somebody
someone
else.
On your,
Then
like
you would-
fences were on your property.
On something like that, I would first go talk to the city and have an inspector come out and make an inspection. And if it's encroaching on, how is it a fence that's encroaching? So then let the city of Houston handle the encroachment process and then talk to an attorney. But if I were you, I would, something like that, I would call 311 and let an inspector come out. Because if it's a fence encroachment or if something else, then the building inspector can assist in that process. But now, many times they'll tell you, you know, this is a civil issue, and that's something that you have to get an attorney. But I would first call 311 and let them come out, and if it's a fence or if it's a violation.
She did that. And
Okay.
there was no, well, with the city, they said it'd only be so many feet
Mhm.
high, but it was, I heard to say obstructing her view of backing out of her yard.
Okay, yeah.
And she can't tell if it's a car coming.
And then with
And-
that,
And the city didn't do anything.
I would go through arbitration. We here, another thing with the state of Harris County. You can go through arbitration easily, and because that's a civil issue. And you can have an arbitrator sit there between the two neighbors and discuss the process civilly.
And
Yes.
I actually went through there.
Okay.
Because the people behind me actually took the back of my fence out and decided to build them a fence in part of my yard. And I went to the man and he didn't do anything, so I took him to small claims court. And they fined him and told him that he had to replace my fence.
Mhm.
And he said that he thought that that part belonged to somebody else.
But there's options.
Yeah, and it didn't cost me that
That's
much.
right.
It didn't cost me anything because actually he had to pay all the fees and stuff and replace the fence.
So make sure you call 311 first, have an inspector go out, and if they said they can't do, then go through arbitration or small claims court or get an attorney and have a discussion with them.
What if you have a no trespassing sign on your yard, on your property, and someone did that?
You still need to go through that process.
So,
The process is the process.
right.
You know, whether you put a no trespassing sign or not, you still gotta go 311. You still make sure that what you're thinking is correct. So let the city come out and make an investigation first. And then if they say, oh, no, there's nothing we can do, but it is in violation, then you need to go through either arbitration, small claims court, get an attorney. You know, something like that is something that you would go through the process. You know, I've been here working for the city 30 plus years. And I always tell people, the process is the process. I would first call 311, get some information from the city, let them tell me what is wrong. You know, when you're talking about something like that. Now, as I've said, everything we're telling you is not legal advice. We are not attorneys, Nia and I are not attorneys, and everything that we're giving you is for informational purposes. But one of the things that's so important is that we are able to pass on our generational wealth. Let me give you a great example. My grandfather, he's in Puerto Rico, built a house with his own hands. He built the cement blocks with his own hands with his sons. And that was in 1938, 39. So when he passed, he did not have a will. So his wife, thank God, her son, they went to court and they got it all set that all the grandchildren, all the children, and then the grandchildren, living grandchildren, are able to pass on their generational wealth. But can you imagine? And let me tell you something in Puerto Rico. He bought the land from the city. And I know you can do that as a lease. So the day he passed, the land on the property went back to the city. So anyone could have bought that land and told us that can't step in this property because I own the land. Thank God that my mother got educated and went and talked to the city and bought the land, because one of the things that we wanted to do, and all her oldest brother, is they want to make sure that the property was passed on from generation to generation to never sell. So she bought the land. And now we protected but I'm saying all this to say, you have a chance right now to protect your generational wealth and pass on your story. Because each one of us worked very, I can tell you, my husband and I built our own home. In the process we went through of building that home the way specifically we wanted. Because we were retiring, those are memories that we have created with our children, with our grandchildren. They remember when the land was, you know, our youngest, our Dominique wasn't born, but our youngest Jalen can remember when there was not a building. And he said, I remember when there was concrete, there was the wood going up, the structure was going up. Those are stories, you know, and my husband and I went through our negotiation process, our budget negotiation process, that those are within memories then themselves, because if y'all know me, I'm Puerto Rican, but you worked very hard, everything you earned. I don't care if it's a shed, but it's yours. Yes, sir.
Just want to say something to the lady here, so
Mr. Ernest.
getting a survey,
Yes,
she talked about fence height.
yes,
A survey does not apply to the fence height. There might be a code violation,
it is.
but horizontally, that doesn't, you're not encroaching on your property, if it's not horizontal. If vertical, that's, again, maybe code violation, but not a encroachment.
And that's what happened with the city. And that's why I want you to get started with the city. Because when you have an issue like that, the city will come out and will educate you on what is a code violation, what is not a code violation, and then you can make the proper decision after that. Thank you, Mr. West. Yes, ma'am.
So you said if you had your property surveyed.
Mhm.
And the surveyor come out and say, well, they have 5 feet of your property. That feet. And at the time, you don't want to cause any confusion. So how do you get that stuff?
You can go through arbitration, which is an easy civil process, or you can go through small claims court. It's easy. One of the things that we went through the class for arbitration, and it's so easy. You have one person that's sitting right between non-partial person that is assisting you and helping you both come together to a conclusion.
Well, talk to the neighbor first. I mean, just have the
please.
conversation.
Yeah, have
Kind
that
of goes from
conversation.
there. If they don't want to talk about it, send them a
Then
nice
go for it.
certified letter. So that way you can kind of, you know, keep track, keep a trail, and then kind of go from there. You know, if they don't want to do it, then go to arbitration. Don't want to go to arbitration, file suit. I mean, as long as you can prove that that's your land by your survey, then,
But
you
when
know.
the judge approves what she has and not what you have a survey and.
But then
Well,
that-
the survey and the record of deed is what actually contradicts anything else. Like you can't not prove
But if
the
a judge
survey-
makes that determination, then what the judge says, that's final.
what you bought is what you bought.
Yeah, but if a judge goes with the other person, then you have a process. That's a legal process that they have to go through. We're not gonna go through that legal process, and we're not gonna discuss that legal process, because that's something that you have to determine with an attorney and go from there. Because remember, we're not attorneys. So we can give you all the information we have, but we cannot give you legal advice. But on something like that, I would hire an attorney and go through that process, or start the city. You've already gone through the city, 311. You went through that. If you then go through an attorney and have a discussion, you went through that, and the judge, then have your attorney, you have options. Yes,
That's called an appeal.
yes, exactly.
A survey is a legal document that says this, and this, and the judge says otherwise, then you can appeal that ruling.
But you still have to go through an attorney on that. So, yeah, at that time, then you take it to a different level. Yes,
When
ma'am.
they do the survey, then they put all these little things for your property. And then if the person just go and pick up all the little flags.
It doesn't have to- The survey's been done already. It doesn't really matter if they're going to pick them up or not.
It's
So
already been done. The survey has been done.
Some places you put a spike in the.
Yeah, that's okay. And if they remove it, it's done, but the survey has already been done.
No, but I wanted to have my property survey, so I would know. I have one more question.
Sure.
Some way back over on the
the difference between the Lady Bird deed and the death deed. Okay, so if you have if you fill out the death deed
Mhm.
and you get sick, that won't count against, you would have to do a Lady Bird deed if you want to be able to, get benefits. The death deed.
I don't know that you can do a Lady Bird deed after you've already become ill, because I think there's a clawback period. Like
Yes,
a look
but-
back period.
But if
for
you've
what they
done a
have.
transfer on death deed, you can cancel that transfer on death deed. But on something like that, I would talk to an attorney
Yeah.
and get clarification. But I know, let's say, I'm Ira Hippolyte, as of today, I'm happy with my children. And then tomorrow, one of my children really makes me so angry that I'm like, no, we're not doing this. You're not able to take care of my property. I worked too hard for this. So I decide I'm gonna leave it to 2 and not 1. I can cancel my transfer on death deed. And it's called a affidavit of cancellation of transfer on death deed.
Well, you basically want to talk to an attorney that if you have questions about both, to see which one is best for you for your particular situation, ask them, is a transfer on death deed better for you, or is it better to do a Lady Bird deed? And let them help you decide which is better.
And I did a Lady Bird deed for a great aunt who was in a nursing home. And they were gonna try to take her property
Mhm.
Yes.
take her property to pay back for the time in the nursing home, because they didn't qualify for Medicaid after they tried to get it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the Lady Bird deed is what saved the property.
That's exactly.
Yeah, because as soon as she died, the property became mine, and they couldn't use it to go after it.
Right.
So that's what I was asking, if you had already made a death deed.
Transfer on
Can you go back and change that to the Lady Bird deed?
And that's why you can cancel your transfer on death deed,
Mhm.
and it's called a cancellation of a transfer on death deed. And then you can file the Lady Bird deed. You can change and cancel your transfer on death deed, but on something like that, I would talk to an attorney. Because actually to just spend some time talking to an attorney is not that expensive,
Yeah,
especially if you already know what specific questions you have.
and Houston Law Referral Service has legal lines.
Yes.
It's, and I'll look up the phone number and I'll put it out for everybody. Legal lines, you can call that number and you get so many minutes of phone consultation with an attorney. So you can ask them all of those kinds of questions for free, just over the phone. And they won't charge you for it.
And those are those questions. And that's why we have the month of service partnership. The month of service partnership is all about giving back to the Houston, Harris County, state of Texas. We've even had people from other countries, other states attend our virtual workshops because you have attorneys there that are giving you information. Now, they will not give you legal advice, but they will give you referral information on contact Houston Bar Association. This is their legal line. We can also refer you to the Houston Lawyer Referral. We can, if you have a question and you talk to Ms. Karen Ramsey with the Houston Lawyer Referral and say, this is the specific questions I have. And this is the specific type of attorney. And I'm not sure, but I think you can even say, I only can afford this. How much is this attorney? And I'm not sure, but call Houston Lawyer Referral Service, in which we will give you all that information later on, and they can help you because we want to make sure that when you're talking to an attorney, you know all the information that you need to, what to ask, what not to ask. And then, when he's saying, well, I need this, I need that, you need that, sometimes you already know you don't need that. So this is what the month of service partnership, we want to make sure that you're not alone. We have a team of partners that are here to help you through whatever concerns you are. And this is the Department of Neighborhood also. I actually forgot to say on behalf of Mayor Sylvester Turner, Mayor John Whitmire, and Director Takasha Francis, we want to welcome you to the month of service partnership. We want to welcome you to Coffee and Conversation. Coffee and Conversation is a very informal process of just talking about just like what we did. We're sitting here having coffee, some donuts, and talking about your concerns. It's not someone, Nia and I are not professor law, which is great, but we are just sitting here talking with you and talking about your concerns and giving you options. We're not giving you legal advice, but we're giving you options so you know, when you're going through a stressor in your life, you can say, hey, I got this option, that option, this option. And also, one of the greatest parts that I think is the most, you're not alone. You have a team of partners that's walking right by your side, working out through this process together as one team.
Someone asked about how to find, if we could reiterate how to find a copy of the legal description.
Okay, let me tell you how to find it, because when you're filling out a transfer on that deed, you have to have the proper legal description. You can either get the proper legal description from your title, or you can get it from the county clerk's office, because remember, they file everything. Every deed is filed in the county clerk's office. So you would go to the county clerk's office website, put your last name and your first name, and they will have, if you have like the subdivision or the block or lot of your property, that's when you go to Harris County and get the block and lot. So when you're searching at the county clerk's office, you can find which property is, and they pull out that title and get the proper legal description. Because you cannot use the description that you get from your tax bill or the appraisal district. It has to be from your title. And the only way you can get that title, if you don't have a copy of it, you can go to the county clerk's office and pull up the title.
Just trying to find it so everybody can kind of see on the
Oh,
website where to
fantastic.
go.
And also, we have this form. We were very blessed that TSU created this process, very easy process on how to fill out your transfer on death deed. They also documented how to go to your county clerk's office on your website and what you're looking for the legal description. Now, I know a lot of people don't realize, but the state of Texas, if you go to your Google and Google Texas Law Help, and if you Google Texas Law Help, any question that you have legally, they'll have all the forms that you have to fill out. So I got this from the state of Texas, Texas Law Help, and it's called Texas Transfer Toolkit. So it has everything on a transfer on death deed. It has, if you have a vehicle, you can fill out a transfer on death deed and file it with the Texas Department of Transportation. And there, the day you pass, your vehicle will be transferred to whomever you left your vehicle with. It also has, if you have a bank account, what do you want to do? Do you want an affidavit of death with the bank? You need to fill that out. Do you want someone, whoever you're leaving your account to be an equal partner? So go to this, if you're not here, because we are giving out the Texas Transfer Toolkit, but you can go to Texas Law Help or search Google and put the Texas Transfer Toolkit, and you can get the same information that each one of y'all have. And it also tells you how to fill out a transfer on that deed. And it tells you how to fill out every form you need. And even if you want to cancel a transfer on that deed and create a new one, we had them with just a Sunday at the last transfer on death deed clinic. They wanted to cancel their old transfer on death deed and wanted to create a new one. So then they did an affidavit of cancellation of transfer on death deed and then create a new transfer on death deed. But this toolkit will give you all your information that you need.
And-
Also, you can also call me, Myra Hippolyte, at 832-394-0701, or call Nia, N-I-A Murray, M-U-R-R-Y,
That's correct.
Because I always say AY. And your phone number, Nia?
It's 713-520-5232. But for those folks that are also joining us online, that registered, we'll also be sending out a copy of this toolkit for everyone, that'll have all the information there. If you're joining us on Facebook, then reach out to Myra or myself, or leave a message in the comment section, and we'll make sure that we send out a copy to you as well.
It's
Give us your number.
713-520-5232.
And your first and last name.
Nia, N-I-A. Last name is Murray, M-U-R-R-Y.
Now, Neil works for Neighborhood Recovery. Could you explain what Neighborhood Recovery is all about, Neil?
I will put both numbers in the chat, Ms. Donna, she just asked that. Neighborhood Recovery is a local community development organization. We're located in Southeast Houston, just off of 288. We help with community revitalization, community engagement to try to help promote economic development in communities, provide housing for low and moderate income families, helping them to transition into homeownership. So there's various real estate developments that we've done out of further down Scott and Fuquay. We have a housing development that we partnered with D.R. Horton to build single family homes down there. Well, that's another discussion. We partnered with various builders throughout the city to build affordable housing for homeowners, people that are low of moderate income families, to try to help them with transitioning into homeownership. We own a couple of multifamily properties, apartments. We offer, oh goodness. If you see one of our other initiatives, Go Neighborhoods here. Go Neighborhoods is a community initiative through the Local Initiative Support Corporation, where we help bring dollars into communities to help them with whatever it is that they want to do, whatever is the issue for their particular community that they want to see done, whether it's safety, whether it's health improvement, whether it's what we call it, speed bumps in the community, community gardens, things of that nature. We do that through our Go Neighborhoods program. So, but there's a variety of different things that we do. So if you guys want more information, then definitely look out, let us know. It's Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Program.
Now, one of the things that they're one of our partners, and we offer with a month of service, a first-time home buyer program. So, and one of the greatest things that I just got educated, a lot of people think, well, first-time home buyer is for younger generation. There's no age limit. You can be over 80, 70 and be a first-time home buyer, and they can assist you if you take their class and assist you with that process. Because I know our son took the first-time home buyer and he bought his first home. And I think, especially when you're graduating from college and you're trying to start in a process, you want to learn how to clean your credit. You want to learn how to make savings, have a savings account. That's what we do with the month of the service also. So, and remember that it's not only for the younger generation. If you've been living in an apartment all this time and you feel like, hey, I'm ready to buy a home, we can also assist you with the first time home buyer.
Because rent is not getting any cheaper.
No, because right now rent is as expensive as your mortgage. That's a fact. That is, and I was just surprised when our son in Las Vegas told me how much he paid for his rent. And I was like, what? No way. And we pay less for our mortgage. So I'm like, so always remember, guys, you're not alone. Coffee and conversation. This is what it's all about. Yes, ma'am.
I just have one quick question, and I know we were talking about these and stuff, but in relation to the home, there was a time in Houston when you were in a neighborhood and you had to have homes that were similar to the homes that were there.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about houses about to fall apart or something, but if you have single dwelling homes, my concern is that there are all types of structures being put into neighborhoods. Who determines that and what input is that no longer a rule?
There's no deed restrictions. For
No,
No, but
communities.
the neighborhood does control. Could you explain that,
thought-
Mr. West?
Good, deed restrictions.
There's no deed restrictions.
No, but even if you don't have deed restrictions, there's chapter 42. that all the neighbors in the neighborhood, in specific neighborhood, can sign up to be a part of chapter 42 with the city of Houston, and that protects your block. If you go block by block and get it notarized and get it an affidavit filled out, if I were you, I would call out here in Sunnyside, Mr. Pugh, who's the planner out here? Tanya? Okay, Tanya Sawyer? Okay, let me find a planner who will be able to assist you with that process. Yes.
Okay.
Also, too, you can, with the state, it's very costly, but you can make it a historic area.
Oh,
And by doing it.
Well, it's already called historic, so that doesn't seem to
We're
work.
calling it and it be labeled.
That's different thing. Okay, so check, make sure.
Once you authorize it by the state as being a historic area, some historic value, then it can come with, clarifications on what is expected from a, structure standpoint.
Thank you so much.
yes, sir.
Yeah, and also in concert with your deed restrictions, one of the things you can have is an architectural review committee. Before you build a structure, it must conform to the
Yes.
specific.
Exactly. In your civic club, in your HOA, in your homeowners association, in your, that is awesome. Because then you control what is being built around you.
And it's important to make sure that people know how to get involved with your local civic clubs. Find out who your civic club president is, if there is one, if there isn't one, if you want to get one started, start one. You gotta get involved.
Supposed to be 2 people working on it, so it doesn't seem like we're getting the feedback that we need, not from both.
Mhm.
And one of the things, now, I just want to ask the question real quick. And I know it's during the day, so most younger generation is working. So how many younger generations do you see here? 1, 2?
Yeah, she raised her hand. She said me.
That's right.
She
Me.
said me. She says, I am not claiming that.
But the reason I'm saying is, we need to bring our younger, we need to get them involved. Now, remember, when you were their age, and this, I learned that also, one older lady told me, remember, did you seem to forget? Because I was griping, there's not a lot of younger generation being involved. And she goes, oh, excuse me, Myra. And this is how she told me, oh, excuse me, you had 3 children, right? I said, yes. So what did you do after work? When you got home from work? Well, I cooked, made sure the kids were fed, homework. And she said, and by what time did that end? And I said, well, about 9 o'clock. And that's when what happened? They went to bed. How many meetings
Start at 9 o'clock.
start at 9 o'clock? So that's why the month of service, we're doing it virtually also. Because if you have a civic club, you should try to be as inclusive as possible and do it virtually also. Because if you do it virtually, then at least they will have time to go back whenever they're sitting down watching, the kids are finally asleep. And this younger lady told me, we all want to be involved, but we have to take care of our children. And some of us work different shifts. We're working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So I stopped griping about our younger generation not being involved. But what I started educating the community is start filling out a process that they are involved. And one of the processes is virtual meetings that you can have them in person, just like we're doing it. It's not difficult. We have been working it. Nia and I, we're finally getting it. So it started out very difficult. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but the more you do it, the better you get, because you want to be as inclusive as you can and make sure that all your neighbors know, go to this link and you can watch it at your leisure.
Or ask little grandkids. They sitting there swiping on tablets all day long anyway. Ask them how to do it.
That's exactly right. Because my grandson, Bryson, he's 11 years old, and he has autism, but at school, they had him doing a computer class. And I'll go, Bryson, I messed up this thing on my phone. He goes, and he'll go in and fix it. He goes, do I have to show you again? I say, you probably have to show me about 20 more times. He goes, all right, mommy too. And I say, love you. And he goes, love you too. But yes, get your grandchildren, get your neighbors. If you don't have any grandchildren, If you don't have neighbors close to you, get to find someone. There's always a younger adult that would be excited to help you. Now, if you're asking me and Nia, I see Rashad right here. I'm volunteering Rashad. He's our younger generation that can assist you with that stuff, because we're still working through the process ourselves.
More so, we just want to make sure that people are actually having the conversation.
Yes.
There are so many people in a lot of communities of color think it's faux pas to talk about death as if it's never going to happen to any of us. It's going to happen. Just nobody knows when, nobody knows how, or whatever, or even at what age. But it's something that they don't want to talk about. You don't want to sit around at Christmas time when everybody's sitting, but that is the perfect time to bring up the conversation when everybody's sitting there. Somebody's got to talk about something. What's going to happen to Big Mama's house? Hey, Big Mama's getting older. We might not be here next year doing this. What's going to happen to her house? Who's going to take care of her? Who's going to handle her finances if she does go into a nursing care facility? All those things, those conversations need to take place. They have to, otherwise that's how you start to lose that generational wealth. Our grandparents and great grandparents, I'm a realtor, so my broker always says that our grandparents had the lowest education, the least amount of money, but they knew the value of buying property. They knew the value of buying insurance. They said living rooms were built for the insurance man to come in on Saturday mornings once a month and come by and collect that little envelope that Big Mama always had on, So have the conversations, because the younger they are, and it's better to even start when they're younger, just to start having a conversation so that they'll know, and talk to them, tell the stories about your grandparents and what they did. Otherwise, those stories die when the grandparents die, and they will never know the importance. They will never know. So
how many of y'all, just to ask you, how many of y'all can go and say, last weekend or last month or within this year, I went back to my grandfather's house or my grandparents' one?
Two. That's it.
I live there.
Now, guess what? We have a training class. It was called, "What are you going to do with Big Mama's house?" You don't have to sell it. You don't have to sell, because what is the most important in this world is owning land, real estate. So if you say, well, I'm not going to do anything with that shack. Okay, you don't have to. You can lease the land, and your generational wealth is kept straight where you at. And I love what our director says to Tasha Francis. She always says, don't sell Big Mama's property or Big Daddy's property. Lease it out. Don't get rid of, because where you have the power is in land. Now, I'm talking about generational wealth. That's what we're talking about, land. I'm also talking about those amazing memories that you can have when you have your family reunions and everyone can come home to Big Mama's property, even if the house is not there. And you can talk about and remind each one of our generations what it took to get down here. Because remember one thing, we didn't get here by ourselves. It took my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, my parents, for me to love and take the pride of being a Puerto Rican. I can assure you one thing that everybody knows about Mayra Hippolyte, that I'm Puerto Rican, and I am y'all saw my car, it has the Puerto Rican. But one of the things, and I learned that pride, that respect of who I am from my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, my father. And I have those stories that I can pass on to our children. And we have the house in Puerto Rico that we can take our grandchildren and they can carry that pride of being a Puerto Rican. But also they have another side from Louisiana. But guess what? They have in St. Martinville, there's land there, there's property there that my husband can tell them. And my husband is great. He's another one on the other side about being very proud of being an African-American and what it took him to get him here.
Mario, you from St. Martinville?
Yeah, my husband's from St. Martinville. Look, but that is so important for each one of you. It's not only land ownership, but when it comes to land ownership, respect to your elders. You learn from those memories, from those stories that you get in and you sit down and wiggle and waggle. And you can say, oh my God, I remember when I remember that story that mom told me, and she was a little girl, she fell off this. You see it, you feel it, and you carry that pride. Not only that, land is powerful. If you sell your land, you lose that power. Pass on that generational wealth. Pass on that legacy to each other. We're just here giving you information, no legal advice, but just telling you, carry on that love of your generation and that love to your generation of wealth. Pass it on. Don't be, what did that other lady, she said, don't be, when someone holds on to something, this is mine.
A hoarder.
A hoarder. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your heirs. Pass it on to your heirs. And I know I can talk about this because that is my love. My love is working with the community, talking with each one of y'all, having this conversation that's so easy, simple, and you can each talk to me and say, Myra, Nia, Rashad, this is what's going on in our lives. How can you help me with, I have a junk motor vehicle in my car in my neighborhood. I have weeds that need to be cut. I have a dangerous building that needs to be removed. It's still vacant and open. What do I do? First thing we tell you is what? Call 311. First step, and you'll always hear Myra say there's a process. The first process is to call 311 if you have any concerns in your neighborhood. Don't be the person that sees a violation or a concern and don't take time to call 311. It's none of my business. Well, then why are you griping? And I am very vocal. I had a senior citizen. Well, we've had this problem for years and no one does anything. And I said, well, have you called 311? Oh, no. I said, well, why are you griping? If you do not take the time to stand up for your community, that's also called legacy building. Because if you allow a weeded lot next door to your property, a dangerous building, potholes on your streets, water dripping out. If you allow that, the legacy of your neighborhood starts dying. And it's called the open windows theory. So we're talking about your neighborhood's legacy. You want it to breathe. You want it to keep moving. So you have to do the process. And the process is get involved. Call 311 when you have concern. And if no one ever calls you back or you don't see anything within a month, call 311 and tell them you want to expedite your concern, or call your council members, send them an email, have it documented. Yes, ma'am.
And I would always say when you call 311 now, their new system, I've learned that, do you want to be anonymous?
Yes.
And I say, no.
Thank you.
I want to give you my information. And I want you to send it to my email. And I want to know when it's done. And they've started to let you know when things are completed. So I take it upon myself to drive by and see if it's completed. And then when it's not completed, I do call my council member's office to let them know this is not completed. And take a picture and I email it to their number. And I found out that you can email and text to the number that's online.
See, and that's as easy as that. Yes, Mr. West.
Yeah, and also, when you call 311, to give you a search request number, follow up. Some of the departments have a liaison. Contact that liaison if it's not done in a appropriate amount of time, follow up. But when you call your council number, make sure you have a service request number. So that the titles together.
And this is what it's all about. We are in it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of us. But you know what? 13, if each one of us take care of our own specific neighborhood, take care of our own specific property, protect our generational wealth. That's called legacy building. It's not just transferring your generational wealth to your heirs. Legacy building is protecting your neighborhood, the weeds, the trash, making sure if someone does any kind of criminal act, you become part and call 911. Don't just say, I didn't see it. If you see it, what did it say? If you see it,
Say something.
Say something.
thank you. And that's what it's all about. Legacy building. It's not just your generational wealth. Legacy building is your home, protecting it, maintaining it. Legacy building is protecting, maintaining your neighborhood, knowing your neighbors. Don't going into your house and closing the door and saying, I'm living my life and I don't know you. Because once you don't know your neighbor, then that's when anyone can move into your neighborhood and feel like they can do anything because no one's going to know what I'm doing. So we're talking about the broken windows theory. Legacy building is knowing your neighbors, having a block party, talking to each other. When you're going inside, hey, Joe, hey, Myra, what are you doing? How's your children today? Let them know that you see them and they see you. Because we have to take care of our neighborhoods, not just our little 4-square home. It's a process of taking care of each other and legacy building, not only with our property, but with our neighborhood and with our city. If you're driving down the street and you see a pothole and you know it's getting bigger, don't just go around it, call 311. Because now you've started legacy building, protecting your property, protecting your neighborhood. Now you're protecting the legacy of your city. And that is so important because when people from other cities come here, we have visitors and they say, well, and they don't care anything about the legacy of the city of Houston. Because the only thing they'll take back is the city of Houston community does not care about the legacy of Houston, of the city of Houston. So we got to stop living in this little square process home. We have to think outside and be a team member and remember that we have to build legacy in our home, pass it on to generational wealth. In our neighborhood, call 311, be active. In our city, legacy building, prepare, protect your legacy in that city and even your state. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am, sir.
No question. I want to make a statement that in my neighborhood in the month of October, we did a neighborhood cleanup in our area. We partnered with the city of Houston, solid waste, our council members.
That's awesome.
And they brought out our equipment for us. We didn't have to purchase equipment. They brought like the shovels, the rakes, the cones, everything that we needed, the trash bag, and they even brought out a dumpster. Because it was that bad in the neighborhood. And they brought it out and they picked it up and there's no charge to us.
And guess what? You even have Harris County out right there that can assist you. So it's not just your house, your city, your neighborhood, it's also your county. They're here also. Because remember, one of the things that we need to remember, that we're all in it together. We got to fight this world together. So when we're talking about that's Harris County, that's the city of Houston, no, we're in it together. That's why they're here. Because the city of Houston, we have nonprofits that we're all in it as partners. We're fighting this world together for your betterment. So now you have to think outside the box. And instead of thinking my house, my neighborhood, my city, you also have to think your county and your state. And let's work at it together. You want to clean up? There's Angela right there and Mr. Pugh. They can assist you with the cleanup. If you have issues, concerns about your neighborhood, the city, call 311, be active and write down those service request numbers. Be very proactive because guys, you know what? When they're looking for community leaders to be a partner in a group or a commission, like you did, you should be very active and say, I'd love for you, I'd love to be a part of this commission with the city of Houston. I'd love to be led and guide. I'd like to be a leader. And I want you, the city of Houston, to listen to my concerns also. So you're not in it by yourself. We all will fight it with it together as one team, one goal. And you will get stressed out because if you, Mia's heard Myra, I get stressed out because things don't get done how I would like them to be. But guess what? We all need to work in it together, and it's one team, one goal. And guess what? You're never alone.
I want to add one other thing before we wrap up, because we have like 10 minutes left. The holiday season is upon us. A lot of people think about, assets and legacy building and things of that nature when they don't think about your mind being an asset.
Yes.
Please check on your neighbors, your relatives. A lot of people are going through depression right now. A lot of people are experiencing, even still from COVID, experiencing a lot of financial hardship. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to tell nobody. They've lost family members. They're experiencing grief. They're lonely. Check on your neighbors just to see if they're all right. You haven't seen so-and-so outside in a while when they used to come outside all the time. Where are they? What happened to so-and-so? Oh, she used to live down the block, but I ain't seen her in a while. Who's checked on? Just reach out and remind people that they need to kind of give a hand or something, a conversation to your neighbors, to your relatives that people just seem to forget about, especially the folks when they're sitting in nursing homes. That's what I want to talk about real quick too. Now I thought about that. Scams.
Yes.
There are so many scams going on right now, especially related to your property. Deed scams that are out there. People are doing electronic filings for changing property records, changing your deeds online, doing electronic filings. So you want to at least once or twice a year go online at the county registrar's office, the county clerk's office, and check to make sure that your property is still in your name. My best friend's grandmother's house just got served with an eviction notice from somebody that bought her property because it was sold to this guy in a scam, and he came to the house to evict them, presented a fake death certificate and everything that she died, that her heirs sold the house to an investor who sold it to this guy. And she's right there looking at him like, this is not me. They had to go through the legal process, had to go to court to fight the eviction, now having to go through the process to get the property put back into her grandmother's name.
Now,
So it's going on. Be careful.
There's one
Pay
that just
attention.
came out, and I had a senior citizen just yesterday send me a letter he received from an attorney saying that he was an heir to his grandfather's property, and that if he wanted to sell his heirship, that this organization or this attorney would buy it from him. And this gentleman, I'm not gonna say he's maybe about 90 something years old. So I referred him, I called Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and they're assisting him with that. So when they sent you, when you start receiving letters like that about your heirship of your father, your mom, your brother, your sister, don't sign it. Don't call them. You need to call the city, and we will refer you to an attorney, Houston Houston Volunteer Lawyers, TSU Earl Carl Institute, Lone Star Legal Aid. There's a lot of attorneys, volunteer attorneys that are willing to help with your cause. So know that you're not alone, and then just don't ignore it either. Make sure that you call someone and that we can assist you. Now, Nia and I can't help everyone, but you've got, look at me, here it goes. But you've got Rashad, you've got Angela, you've got Mr. Pugh, you got Harris County, you've got your council members. You've got so many people that can assist you with whatever concerns you have. Know that you're not alone. And also, I love what you just said about mental health. Guys, look, before COVID, we used to have this whole room full. Am I wrong, Rashad? About 50, 60 people for coffee and conversations? More than that? So now, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get back that sign-in sheet that we used to have in Sunnyside. I'm going to call and say, hey, where were you with coffee and conversation? We missed you. Because even though you're staying inside, I want you to know that we care for you. You're our friends, because there's a lot of our friends that are not here. And I'm going to call them personally and say, wait a minute, we're having coffee and conversation again next month. And we want to see you back. And even if it's not Myra here, it might be, but it's gonna be here. We're here for you. Whoever it is, it might be Nia, it might be Rashad, it might, whoever it is, know that you're not alone, because especially during the holidays, make sure that you know that you care, because you do. I'm sure Ms. Ernest, you know how much we care, right?
Oh, yeah.
The fact is, Mr. West, we care, you know, and that's what it's all about. Yes.
And just like she was saying about checking on people, we had some volunteers. I was doing the training in Washington, and this lady volunteered all the time, just like you saying, people come and they had to sing. Somebody went by the house and she had a little potbelly stove in the floor, trying to burn stuff in it to keep on. And she was ashamed to let any of her friends and anybody know that her lights was off, her gas, she didn't have any food hardly. And that's what it means by coming out the box, because you never know what people are going through.
Absolutely.
When you don't see it.
That is so true.
And it was so
That-
sad, but you know, and everybody jumped in then. But she said she just didn't want anybody to know.
And it shouldn't be something like that. It should be, you should be checking on people all the time. And it shouldn't be, this is a shame to me. I shouldn't be having coffee and conversation. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at all our friends that used to be here and I haven't talked to them. So that's my fault. So just like what I'm telling me and I'm telling you guys, we all have to make that phone call, drive by, knock at the door and see where our old friends are. Your neighbors, don't just walk inside your house and walk out. Tell them, hey, how are you doing? And I am known for that. My neighbors, they tell my husband, oh my God, your wife is all so excited and happy about everything. It can be storming and she's gonna stop and wave. And I gotta stop and wave, you know, and my husband goes, yeah, that's my wife. Sorry about that. That's just, he goes, no, we like that, but we're just making fun of her, but we like that. We always, but that's important just to say hi. Okay, even if it's raining. All right. Are there any other questions?
So if was planning on going to bringing Broadway to Sunnyside this Thursday at the multi-service center, it's been rescheduled to January.
Oh.
So let your neighbors and all know.
Oh, they made the announcement about that Saturday too.
Can you explain the?
Yeah, what is that?
You know, the play and.
It was, it's based on the Broadway musical Ain't Misbehaved. And Jewel Brown, who actually was in it, was going to be there along with Tex Allen, Felicia Rashard's and brother. And they were trying to get them and some more people there, and it was a gala for seniors to bring Broadway back, and some of the seniors were gonna be singing and all. It was a musical. And it was set for this Thursday. It was gonna be really nice, but they had to reschedule it to January.
Oh, well, remind
As soon as
us.
I find the date, I'll start shooting it out again.
Thank you so much.
Well, my phone number is up here. If you could call me with the
Yeah.
information, because somebody announced it at our Go Neighborhoods event on Saturday, and everybody's all excited about it because Sister Mama Sonia, I'm pretty sure y'all
Mama
know,
Sonia,
she
yeah.
was there, was telling everybody about it. So if we could, so we can make sure that everybody gets the information.
Yeah,
So let us know.
I'll shoot you a text after.
Okay.
And you guys know that we can talk, because Myra can talk forever. So it's time for Myra to shut her mouth, say thank you, everyone. Know that you're not alone. We're a team of partners. We're fighting this world together. And after this, let's have some coffee, some donuts, water, and let's enjoy this holiday season, but also enjoy seeing each other again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We will see
Yeah,
you
oh,
all
yeah,
next
please
time.
make sure you fill out this workshop. Thank you. Hey,